the sea.
Now we move on to the C ranks, which are the bosses that I just feel are they're okay. They're not bad. Correction, I'm content with their existence. They may have their own flaws. They're good. They're okay. They're alright. We're gonna move on to number 35. Oh yeah, this game exists. Well, whatever, double trouble time, let's freaking go. For this fight, you actually start off as Sticks, dodging DT's rocks from above. After a while, a boomerang rock will appear, so you better use the rank to pop your rocks. And then DT uses its tail to attack you, which also allows you to use your homing attack on it by switching to either fire or ice mode. And after you land enough hits, you switch back to Sonic, and then you have to avoid DT biting you and dodging the fire/ice bombs. I actually thought that this fight was kind of difficult. It was my first time playing this game, but I did not expect this fight to be kind of difficult. And from a Sonic Boom game, that's saying something. But other than that, I don't really have anything else to say, even if I do think that this is the best of the Boom games. But I also like that this boss takes advantage of the two screens of the 3DS. Overall, while not amazing, I just think this fight's pretty okay. And its design is certainly unique. It's a fight that exists. Yeah, I get it, right? So Lyric is more correct. And talk about the Lyric fight from this game without being freaking game. In this fight, Lyric summons his robots for you to fight, as well as attacking you with hammers, shockwaves, and in the later phases, the Super Laser Piss! After dodging this onslaught, he drops down and leaves himself open to a beatdown from you and your team, culminating in you hog-tying him. Then as each character, depending on the phase at hand, you enter a platforming segment where you have to retrieve the crystals you have collected throughout the game. They're a bit easy, but hey, it makes for more variety, I guess. This is actually kind of cool for me, but I know somebody's gonna argue about that. The setting is kind of foreboding, and even the music is not bad. I know that the 3DS fight with Lyric actually uses the same song, but hey, it's okay even if the soundtrack is forgettable. Even if the fight may be kind of easy and the graphical fidelity is not up to par and it gets a bit more repetitive, but I just think this fight is okay. It was a decent end to a very, very, very trash game. Yeah, I actually think Lyric is an okay fight. Moving on. Knuckles! I finally get to talk about Knuckles' chaotics on the channel. And I have to say, it's okay. This fight actually takes place on the hub world entrance. I actually think that setting the fight on the freaking hub world where you go through the levels is actually kind of unique in a way. It's cool. This fight has you hit Metal's arms in the first two phases with your partner character. In my case, Mighty the Armadillo! In the second phase, he will try to crush you with his arm in the background. And in the third phase, he will use his Super Laser Piss! From either side of the arena. Much like Lost World's Egg Robo, hitting him fast enough can get him out of the way quickly. What also sets this fight apart is the freaking design of this guy. I just think he looks cool. I just think a lot of these bosses look pretty cool. They just don't get a really good fight off of it. Not saying that this fight is bad, but hey, it's a bit middle of the road, and the tether can be quite cumbersome for some people, but I actually use that to my advantage in this game, not just in this fight. And the music is kind of catchy too. It's cool, and I like it. It's not bad. This boss is alright. A little middle of the road, but not bad. Nice, back to the Nux Man. This is actually the first of two games with two different final bosses for certain conditions. For this one, you just have to play as Knuckles. In this fight, you take on Mecha Sonic on Sky Sanctuary, as this first phase is basically the same as how you fight Mecha Sonic as regular Sonic. And after you hit him enough times, that is when things get real. Now this fight is pretty tricky, so you gotta maintain your rings and your distance. What he'll do is fly from side to side to either swoop down to you, spin dash to you, or shoot energy balls, which will allow you to get some hits on him. But after you hit him for 6 times, he will shoot out fake rings that will damage you, and give you the smallest window of opportunity, because just actually trying to hit him through that window is absolute pain. Just why? Why Mechasonic? And this fight actually uses the Doomsday Zone music, which I'm not gonna complain about. To be honest, I don't really have a lot of negatives for this one. I just think that there are better fights out there. Weren't expecting me to talk about something related to Dream Team now, were ya? And I know that this fight isn't really a fight per se, but despite that issue, I still think that this fight is actually good, even if he goes down in one little hit. But that's besides the point. For this fight, if you can call it that, you play as every character except for Tails, since he's busy taking care of the Dream Core with REM in her ball form. What you gotta do is maneuver through an Eggman-based obstacle course. With Sonic, you have to use his speed and boosting, and then you gotta move on to Rouge, which specializes in gliding. For Knuckles, you have to climb up arms, then you move on to Cream, who has treadmilling arms and flying segments, and then Amy, whose section eerily resembles Infinite's first fight in Forces, as this one is the longest phase in this level. While this lack in more traditional terms for a boss fight, the sheer cinematic scale of it is actually why I put it this high so far. The types of fights that allow you to play as a lot of characters are actually one of my favorites in the series. And this one is one of those fights done right. And then Amy passes REM to Tails, only for Eggman to race the platform where the Dream Core is standing, and it's up to Sonic to get her there. This final section is mostly just light dashing and homing attacking enemies to get to the tower. A bit underwhelming, but I still think it's good. While I do like the transitions from character to character, as well as the constantly shifting level design, if this were an actual fight, then it would be a lot higher on this list. But other than that, I still think this fight is pretty good. I still love Dream Team as a game. It was definitely worth the $6.99 a month for the Apple Arcade. Oh no, I put the forces fight above Sonic Dream Team. Shut up! Even if it borrows attacks from a certain boss we'll look at later in this list, I actually put it in there because it actually still tried to do something different. This fight starts you off as classic Sonic on a shifting platform, and then you have to deflect rocks onto Eggman. And you do all this while your friends support you from the background. It's alright guys, save up your energy. You don't need to spend it all in one place. After that easy phase, you have to do the Avatars phase next, because this one is the best phase in my own personal opinion. In this phase, Eggman uses finger missiles, summons robots, and slams his fist down, leaving himself open to attacks. Or you could just attack the cockpit for extra damage. As this phase goes on, Eggman will disassemble the arena for more challenge, but as long as you keep dodging correctly, you will succeed. But then the third phase kinda loses me, because it's basically NWA. To be fair, I also forgot to mention the music for this fight. The three phases are actually really awesome for a final boss fight. Like, this music for this final boss is genuinely really good. But then again, for a guy with 300 IQ, you would know better than to use previous machines that Sonic defeated in the past. All the phases have their ups and downs, but it's still a good fight. This fight actually has a rocket attack that's available in the third phase, which actually makes it a bit more unique than the others, so good on you, Eggman. And then you end the fight through the triple boost that you don't really have to press the square button for. I still did it anyway because I wanted to do it because it felt satisfying, okay? Overall, this fight may be flawed and rushed, much like the game itself, but it's still a decent fight nonetheless. Okay, this one's gonna be pretty short, so bear with me. And yes, I did put the 3DS version over the console version for this one. It will be the first time I'm doing this, but it certainly won't be the last. Now, for the obvious improvements over the console version are that this version uses its own unique attacks rather than borrowing from a later boss. And while the console version was an auto runner, you actually have to hold down the R button in order to run so you can get close to Eggman. Overall, I just think that this fight is a bit more enjoyable in this version. His attacks do get a bit more similar as the fight goes on, but it's nothing to worry about. And also, this version of the fight has a voice line exclusive to this version of the game. Just listen.
My magnificent plan!
Other than that, I just have to talk about everything from the console version in this version, which I don't want to do again, so yeah. Let's just move on to number 28. That's right, another racing game on this list. And this time, it's Team Sonic Racing. And much like Nightmare Eggman, this isn't an actual fight per se, but rather it's a race against Eggman and his monster machine set in Thunderdeck. Because this fight is actually just a race in Thunderdeck. And dang, I don't hear a lot of people talk about Thunderdeck's music in this game, just listen to this. It's actually really good. While this was a bit easier when compared to other bosses, I still enjoyed this race for what it was. The track's design was difficult, and it encourages the player to choose whatever path is available. I just think that this race is fun. I just think it's a good race. There's nothing wrong with it. Also, please listen to Thunderdeck. It's really good. I know some of y'all were wondering where I was going to place the Advanced series on this list. For this fight, you play as Super Sonic, as you can clearly see, as you fight Eggman on the moon! As you fly, you have to dodge his attacks because, while they don't do any real damage, they will knock you back. You also have to maintain your rings because, unlike in Superstars, they are in capsules that are broken with a boost. And the boost doesn't actually waste rings. He also uses his arms to shoot off chunks of the moon to attack you, and I think that's kind of cool. And the feel of the music is also really suspenseful as your rings keep lowering and lowering. It's a suspenseful theme, not gonna lie. Other than that, he's pretty spammy with his attacks and will constantly knock you back. And you have to time your boost to hit the cockpit just right because it's really hard to do. Again, I don't really have anything bad to say about this fight. There are just fights that I like better on this list. This is still a pretty decent fight nonetheless. So, yeah, let's go move on. Look who's also appearing in Sonic X Shadow Generations. Yeah, I did place Doom a little bit higher than the other bosses, because lore-wise, I think it's cool. It's cool lore-wise. Even if the plot of Shadow the Hedgehog is kind of a mess, but who cares about that? Let's just get to the boss, okay? In this fight, you have to attack Black Doom in the eye as he bombards you with debris, but you have to be really careful because if you get too close, Black Doom will teleport to a far-off area using Chaos Control. Using Chaos Spear is essential here, since you can use it to shoot the balloons that contain rings as you need them to maintain your super state, which can help in cheesing this guy. You can also use Chaos Blast in order to deal damage, but don't use Chaos Control here. It's pretty inconvenient to say the least. And also, if you manage to wait out 9 whole minutes in this fight, Eggman will come out of the shadows and tell Shadow that he actually lied about creating him and his grandpa was the one that created him, as the audience knows. He also tells him that he survived the events of Adventure 2 by being rescued by one of his robots. Me explaining it doesn't do this justice. Here's the clip by itself.
Shadow, can you hear me? This might be the last chance I have to speak to you, so what I said about having created you, it was all a lie. Everyone thought you died during that horrible incident, but I rescued you with one of my robots. You lost your memory, that's all. You really are the ultimate life form my grandfather created.
While an engaging final boss this is not, the lore in this fight makes up for it at the end. Even if you have to wait for 9 whole minutes. Yeah, I forgot to mention about I Am All of Me as a theme. Even though this actually replaced the song Who I Am by Magnify. Okay, that's enough trivia. Let's move on to number 25. Even if Unleashed is my favorite Sonic game ever made, I have to say that the Dark Gaia in this version isn't the best, in my own opinion. It doesn't make it a bad boss, but hear me out, okay? You start off as the Gaia Colossus as he slowly but surely moves towards Dark Gaia while slowly avoiding the boulders he throws. But also there is the
Super Laser Pierce!
that you have to take damage even if you block it. When you eventually close in on him, it's QTE time! Yes, this fight gets held back by the excessive amounts of quick time events. But even that won't really hinder my enjoyment of this fight by that much, okay? It's still a cool fight. After that, you move on to Sonic's parts that give you insane timers, so you have to be extra quick. As the fight goes on, DG's attacks get faster and faster, so now you have to punch the boulders with the triggers. And Sonic's parts get more and more ridiculous. Gameplay-wise, it may not be perfect, but cinematic-wise, woo! So good. Once you manage to finish this first phase, Dark Gaia transforms rather terrifyingly into perfect Dark Gaia and you into Supersonic. Cue the orchestrations! For perfect Dark Gaia, you build up your health gauge with rings, which will allow you to fly into the shield. No, wait. Chip does that. Chip flies into the shield to fight Dark Gaia face to face while you take care of the tentacles. And you do this while a beautifully orchestrated remix of Endless Possibility plays in the background. Just listen. Just listen to this masterpiece. But Dark Gaia won't leave you off the hook yet because he will hit you with rocks as well as the Super Laser Pierce! Once you finish with the snakes, you enter QTE land again, which actually looks kind of awesome, yet they're kinda just there for the sake of pressure. Your eyes are not deceiving you. You really do have to press this button 60 times for this. Overall, this fight may not be perfect, as he is so aptly named, but it's still a really good fight. And I still love Unleashed no matter what. I bet some of you weren't even aware that Colors even had an exclusive boss for the DS version, let alone a secret final boss at that. This is accomplished by getting all the Chaos Emeralds from the special stages. But we're here to talk about the fight, so here's the fight. This fight has you as Supersonic ramming asteroids into NMW's arms while avoiding her arm swipes that span the length of the screens. And you have to avoid eye lasers and the purple energy thingy that will slow you down. After you knock out both of its arms, you fly straight into the eye while avoiding the rocks, slowdown energy, and the red knockback energy, and big laser eyes. And if you manage to get close enough, you have to position yourself perfectly to ram the eye. Yes, her attacks do become more relentless as the fight goes on, but I also find this one to be kind of an easy for a supersonic fight. Yes, this fight is short, yet I also find it nostalgic because I actually did fight this boss when I was a kid. We also get a chip-tuned version of Reach for the Stars as the theme, so that's nice. Still think this fight would have been better in the console version, especially in Ultimate. That's a shame. C'est la vie. Let's move on to number 23. Here we are at the end of the C ranks, and we get to talk about Sonic Advance 3's final boss. For this one, you're actually partnered with Eggman. That's unique. Of course, this is accessed once you gather all the Chaos Emeralds, but that's besides the point. Much like a lot of bosses in this list, Gemerald's attacks will knock you back, or in some cases, freeze you solid. In order to attack Gemerald, you have to use Eggman as a bullet to open up his weak spot for Supersonic to boost into him. And this weakness actually stays open for how much you charge Eggman. What I like about this fight is that you have to use Eggman to your advantage rather than defeat him. And also, this background's real trippy. It's nice and psychedelic. Makes you feel like you're another dimension, man. The music for this fight is delightfully hectic for a fight like this. It's really good. I respect a lot of Final Boss's music, so I hold that to a pretty high standard. I guess the only thing holding it back, as well as the game itself, is the method for getting the emeralds in order to get into the fight, which is so unnecessarily complicated for this game. I guess that's pretty much a problem with the game itself. Overall, I just think this fight is nice. Nothing else to it.
You